Right. Good morning. Okay. I hope my audio is okay. Um, I'm doing this recording because I lost power at some point, so I felt I may inconvenience you if you had to wait for me, and I thought I'd do a recording of this class. Today, I wanted to spend this class today to be the last session that we formally engage. Because the remaining 2 weeks we want to focus on project presentations. And uh, so today we wanted to look at the emerging trends and the career opportunities that are there as far as internet applications design and development is concerned. So that at least by the time you end this class, you're also getting excited of what lies ahead of you and what you can how you can position yourself for the future. So of course we've seen how much digitization has reshaped the business landscapes, not just here in Kenya, but even in other parts of the world. There is a lot of business re-engineering, and the business processes have changed, the business models have changed because of technology and digitization that we are seeing, but also because of um, just the disruptive technologies we are seeing today. This morning, I was just called by someone who is saying, "I'm looking for a trainer who can train me on how to use AI for my business processes." Yeah. And I just thought how much, yeah, things have changed, and everybody is looking for opportunities to leverage the disruptive technologies. Otherwise, you'll be also disrupted. You'll be phased out in one way or the other. So a strong online presence is becoming very crucial if any business is to succeed. And that's where then business web development uh, by default now evolving, and we are seeing new trends, new innovations, new way of doing things, new architectures, new ways of developing softwares. Everything is actually changing and changing rapidly. Okay, so that's a premise why we want to look at what is changing, what has changed, what is upcoming, and what is changing in the digital landscape as far as web applications are concerned. So let me start with architectures, the web architectures, and what we're seeing today is architectures such as microservice architectures, and um, and this is the approach that structures an application as a collection of small, independent, deployable services, each handling a specific business function and communicating with each other via the application programming interfaces. So we've seen this coming up very well, and I must say this is also powered a lot by cloud computing, because the fact that we are able to maybe do virtualization on cloud environments, it makes it very much possible for us to also be able to create microservices and maybe deploy them on a virtualized environment. So you may have um, a, a microservice architecture with, let's say, like 10 microservices, and each microservice is running on an independent VM or virtual machine. Yeah, and seamlessly able to interact and communicate with each one of them through an API. But also maybe you have, like we talked about security last time, you have security groups to enforce there. You have things like security tokens that you use in your account manager to access those applications or those services and all that. And that becomes very, very critical as far as web applications are concerned, because of course here we need the benefit of scalability, that you can scale up, you can add a new microservice, you can be able to deactivate a microservice and it's not functional, but the system is still functional and stuff like that. You've seen this being used a lot in Amazon, also Netflix makes it very easy. Flexibility is achieved, ease of maintenance, because you can maintain a particular microservice and that doesn't affect the others. And this is a trend we are seeing. So there is a client, there is an API gateway, and then there are services, the microservices. And now the backend engineer, of course, or the DevOps engineer is in one way or the other interacting with these services. So here we can do orchestration, especially what we call containerization and orchestration on cloud environments is something that we can do on these microservices that we're talking about here. So different services, which in one way or the other represent specific functions of the organization, and each is running independently, such that as a matter of fact, each may be connected to a particular specific database, but all those databases are mirrored to one another, or maybe they are even images of each other in a cloud environment. It's possible to achieve that. And so the services, there is no redundancy of data. You don't expect that. But at the same time, you are able to seamlessly do operations within these services. It's also possible to be able to have these services reading the same database, only that it is virtual, in a virtualized environment. So it's the same image of a database. So we do replication of the database so that we are able to provide each service with a separate image of the database we want to access through virtualization. So this microservice architecture is becoming very, very common today, particularly because API development has taken shape. And I dare say at this level, we are seeing a trend which will lead us to having APIs that are, I think we already there, yeah. Today we have APIs that you don't even need to have programming skills for you to use them. Yeah, so we're seeing a trend whereby at the API gateway level, there is also even service providers there that you can work with to be able to access different microservices. So people create applications and give you the API gateway that you can access those applications. And it's a plug and play kind of a thing that you can. Then serverless architecture. Serverless architecture here we are saying it's a cloud-based approach where developers build and manage applications without managing the underlying infrastructure. And this allows for automatic scaling, but also the pay-as-you-go payment model that you can use here. So there is a tendency for us to think when you hear of serverless architecture that there is no a server that is involved in this architecture. But that's not the case. The server is there. Either it's a virtual server or it's a physical server. The server is there. Only that we abstract the implementation details of the server to the layman user. Okay. So the layman user doesn't have an access, or they don't even know how the server is deployed, where it is deployed, the specifications of the server. They're just provided with an environment where they can be able to deploy, to build, deploy, and manage their applications. This is becoming common with the evolution of cloud environment, cloud computing, because with now cloud computing, it's possible for you to provide, AWS, Google Cloud, OCI, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and others. They can allow you to actually get a platform as a service or infrastructure as a service. Yeah. And through that, you can actually be able to deploy applications and run them. And scalability is automatic. So we have automatic scaling listeners, as we call them in cloud environments, to help you automatically scale up whenever the demand goes high or whenever there is a rise in demand of the applications that you have, or rather, just the users. There is a spike in the demand of from the user side. Then you can scale up or scale down, what we call in cloud vertical or the horizontal or vertical scaling of applications on cloud environments. So this is becoming common because we are moving from on-premise infrastructure to cloud infrastructure. So if you move to cloud infrastructure, then it's possible for you to have a cloud engineer, a cloud resource administrator who can manage your cloud environment in terms of the infrastructure. And all that you need is a management plane that you can use to be able to just deploy, manage your applications without necessarily knowing the underlying implementation details. Of course, it gives you a faster deployment model. It's cost efficient. You don't need to hire a network administrator, a cloud administrator, a web administrator. All those people are taken up by now the cloud environment you're using. So yeah, so that's serverless architecture in there. Then where am I? So serverless architecture. So it will be something like this. So at this level, you are in. This is maybe at mobile IoT or web application. There is of course the payment gateway, and then now there is the authentication function, which can be an accounts manager that you are running there, or maybe a security broker that you're working with, like we talked about in security last week. And then there is the vehicle bid function, maybe, and the vehicle management service, and that can be the function, um, the specific functions or the specific business logics that you're trying to run for an application stored within a database that you have. So serverless in the sense that you do not get to interact with the server at all, but it doesn't mean that the server is not there, only that there is abstraction that is done, so you don't get to interact with. The other trends you're seeing are what we call Jamstack. Jamstack is Java API and markup, a combination of this. And this architectural approach helps you to decouple the web experience layer from data and business logic. Because previously we've talked about three-tier architectures, but we are now coming to the realization that even those three-tier architectures are not very efficient when it comes to response time, when it comes to throughput, the number of what do we call this? The number of requests that you are able to service in a unit of time, the time between when the request is sent and when the feedback is received, which is the response time, and also throughput, which is the number of requests you're able to service in a unit of time. So you realize the three-tier architecture comes with some limitations, particularly in terms of performance. And so the need for us to decouple the web experience layer from the data and the business logic layer is important. It's coming up. It's required. And here we are trying to improve the flexibility, scalability, performance, and maintenance of the application. So it removes the need for business logic to dictate the web experience. Yeah? That you don't need the business logic, the conventional business logic we used to have. You don't need it for you to have the user interface or the landing page or the front end functional. Yeah. So this increases your loading time, which is of course significantly increases your response time. Enhances security because someone from the front end, they are not easily able to penetrate to the back end. Scalability is made possible as well. And here we're seeing, uh, you know, technologies and languages such as Next.js and others. Such frameworks are picking up in this area quite a lot. So Jamstack is another area that you're seeing. So here we have headless as content management systems. I'll talk about them in a short while as an emerging trend. And then we have static site generators. The CDN is there. The users now are able to interact either with the CDN or the API, especially when it comes to payment for the API. And so that becomes like the logic that you're running in this application. The other thing we're seeing is edge computing and distributed computing, especially because of the emergence of or the growth of IoT, Internet of Things, big data. There is, we're seeing edge computing coming up and distributed architectures coming up as well. So edge computing is a distributed computing architecture that brings computation and data storage closer to the source of data. So here you to think about data that is being processed by a sensor within a greenhouse, that could be edge computing basically. Yeah? So reducing the latency here and improving performance because you process the data at the source. Yeah, you process the data at the source. So while distributed architectures are systems that spread resources across multiple locations for scalability and reliability. This is also another very, very important trend that we are seeing. We are considering edge computing today, of course, mostly because of the lower latency level that you experience here. There is also faster responses, improved performance that you can achieve. You realize that at the end of the day, the goal is always to increase the throughput, reduce the response time, increase availability of the application and all that. Yeah? So this is very common. Cloudflare is one of those that are using edge computing today. So it would be something like this. So you have a cloud server, which is where, in actual sense, the data is stored. But now you have an edge layer, which is at the local network, and you're processing that data at the local network before you can push it to the cloud for storage. You're also able to do caching of the data at the edge level. And then, of course, there is the devices that you are accessing that data. Sorry, that data from. So sensors, controllers, and all that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's edge computing for you. The other one is headless content management systems and API fast development. So headless CMS is a backend only CMS that delivers content via APIs. Yeah. So here you are trying to allow flexible content delivery across various platforms, while API fast development prioritizes API at the start of the software development for better integration and extensibility. Yeah. So we are seeing this as well, that we talked about content management system from a WordPress level, but yes, we are seeing content management systems from a headless level, which here you look at a backend only CMS, and you are able to deliver the content from the backend using an API. Okay. Yeah, so that could be the other thing. So something like this. So where you have the front end, there is an API, and then you are managing a backend, or you are accessing the backend using the API for someone to see what is available from their front side. AI-driven and self-healing architectures is the other thing that we're seeing today as a trend. So using AI to optimize infrastructure, predict failures, and automate scaling, especially where automation is key and where automation has been deployed. This would be a big one, yeah, where you're using AI to specialize, or rather to optimize infrastructure, to predict failures, and also to automate scaling. The benefits here would be to increase efficiency, reliability, and also to reduce the downtime. And also is very, very common in AI-powered cloud monitoring systems, which is an area that has taken over, especially where automation of business processes has been achieved. So also in the area of AI, you're seeing AI and chatbots for e-commerce, whereby you have AI-powered chatbots as a technology. They are handy for both entrepreneurs and their customers, in the sense that they provide personalized experience. So AI chatbots is the other thing that we can talk about in the space of AI. The other one is blockchain-based web architectures. Mostly they are called Web3s and DApps, decentralized applications. So blockchain here is coming to help us in storage of immutable records, records that probably someone changing those records they would be messing up, yeah. So Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, for example, they can consider to use blockchain to store immutable records about census of previous years that that this has happened. So we can have blockchain where you are looking at decentralized applications using blockchain for security and also transparency. So so security in the sense that data stored in the blockchains is immutable in nature, or it's not data that you can be able to, it's not a data that you can be able to 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 update or to write on. You just read that data. Yeah? So this enhances security, it enhances data integrity, but also enhances peer-to-peer interactions. So we are seeing applications deployed on Ethereum, and those are very, very common. So you deploy a web app on Ethereum, and you are able to access that, or you create what we call smart contracts, and you are able to um, deploy those applications on the blockchains and um, and move on. Of course, we see with Web3 now, they are, should I call them plugins or should I call them add-ons on our um, JavaScript enabled add-ons that you need to use on your browsers for you to access specific service providers of blockchains applications. So that's something that we are seeing also taking shape quite well in this field. The other one is progressive web apps, and these are web apps built on web technologies such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but they offer a native app-like experience. Yeah, so native app-like experience in the sense that it's a web application, but it's actually installable. You can install it in your mobile application, and it runs on your mobile application as well. Yeah. So we're seeing that as also an area of growth. So cost efficiency here you're able to achieve because you don't need to develop a mobile application separate from your web application. You just need to convert your web application into a progressive web app, and through that you have everything sorted. So um, you reduce the cost of development and even the time of development. The ease of maintenance, but also the user experience, enhancing the user experience. Maybe the only challenge here is web apps, progressive web apps don't really work very well with iOS or um, iOS. Maybe on Android it will be a bit easier, but on iOS it could be having a bit of challenges. Yeah, so that's progressive web apps. So it gives you a web app like, or rather an app like experience, a mobile app like experience. It is installable, so that's also an advantage. You have a single code base, so you don't have to have a code base for web application and a code base for mobile application. You just have one. Yeah? But also reliability and speed as well. Okay. The other one that I can weigh in is what we call augmented reality and virtual reality. This we have interacted with in our entertainment spaces. So augmented realities also are helping us in the business world to do what we call augmentation of business processes or augmenting business processes. And through that, you are able to visualize the health of the business at any instantaneous time. So while VR creates immersive digital environments, okay, uh, augmented reality enhances real world interaction of the user. So think of spaces like training, logistics, customer engagement, gaming, all that could be areas of interest for us. Yeah. Then there is also AR or augmented examples would be AR translation app and VR simulators for training that you can use. Single page application is the other one, and it's another such technology that can help business owners immensely It is a web application that relies the page content dynamically, including the new data obtained from a server when the scrolling action occurs from the user. Okay. So you write the data automatically when the scrolling actually happens. So SPAs or single page applications do not refresh, but rather they load additional content in response to the user's action. So as you scroll, or as you point, or as you click, we are able to load additional content without necessarily refreshing, because refreshing would take a lot of time. But adding new content, it's very seamless and easy, hence optimizing the performance in this case. So the main difference between SPA and native apps is that SPAs do not or does not connect to the device's operating system and works within the browser only, whereas native apps, as we know, you need to have the system software, the operating system, as an underlying infrastructure for you to run that application. So it will be something like this. You have the front end, and that's where the presentation layer is. That's where you use the browser and all that. And then we have a server side, which is a backend. It has both the business layer and the data layer. And of course, we can have database, which can be on-premise, and a third-party service provider of data storage, and that can be a cloud service provider. And so the interaction will be now from the front end to the back end, yeah, to the back end. But just now, appreciating that we don't do reloading of any data, but we progressively keep adding more data. So the loading becomes a bit easier and quick. Navigation through SPA is easy without the hassle of complicated menus, but also web applications or mobile applications can utilize the backend code for SPAs. So there is also motion UI. A good design is essential in making the web application more appealing, as it helps build a good user interface. So initially static designs were incorporated, but now with evolving technology, motion designs have become a trend. And here, motion UI is your answer to making your web application more interactive and responsive. It is primarily a SaaS or a software as a service library that creates animation and CSS transitions. Also, this technology is compatible with CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. Um, and uh, and uh, and of course, and most front end technologies are compatible with this particular uh, technology of Ocean UI. All right, cloud services. Maybe this is a whole world. We may not dive into deeper, but just to us to appreciate that this is a trend that is growing at a terrific speed, an area of growth that we're seeing at a terrific speed, and cloud services will remain prevalent in the upcoming years too, as it allows developers to create scalable and efficient web applications that can be accessed from anywhere. So they provide data security, give you flexibility when you need to scale up or scale down, facilitate rapid deployment, which is very, very important. Um, Also, there is no backup requirement because backup is actually sorted by the cloud service provider. so they can be able to do replication, virtualization. It makes it possible for you to have a mirror image of a server that stores the same data as the other one. And so redundancy is created, security is enforced, security user groups are created, cloud security groups are created rather, like we said last week, and all that. Yeah? So, so it provides you also with remote access, which is very, very important. So those are some, and let me not say all, but some of the major trends that we are seeing today that that may be of interest to us. I just wanted to mention some of the top career opportunities in this area, and I'll just mention very briefly each one of them. So think of a full stack developer who is conversant with both front end and back end development. Of course, here you need skills of cloud computing, skills of UI, UX design, skills of database, and all that. And then, because they are highly in demand, uh, from, I don't know why I usually feel this, but I feel like from even a personality point of view, it's very rare personalities that can be able to fit into a full stack developer, because a front end developer, which is half of a full stack developer, or rather not half, but it's just one side of full stack developer, um, would have a very different personality from a back-end engineer in this case. So this is a career path which is very much on demand right now. There is front-end developer, the people we call UI stroke UX engineers or UI stroke UX designers. They design user-friendly, responsive, and interactive web interfaces, which is what you want to see. Um, yeah, so they need skills in front-end scripting of web applications. So HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, Vue, Figma for designing. Um, yeah, all those, among others, are skills that you may need to grow. The trend is increased demand for immersive and AI-enhanced UI UX. So there is intertwining aspects of UI UX that are coming with designing using AI that we are seeing today very, very common. So you can you can even design a template using AI so easily. When you are talking about CMSs, you remember I talked about that it's possible for you to do a full site with AI powered, yeah, or AI powered, um, which will take you a couple of minutes in that case. There is also the backend developer, and here you're talking of someone who has a clear understanding of the server-side logics, the database, and also the API integrations that you need for the applications. Yeah. So so here they need to understand, especially in the current stage right now where we are at, understand Node.js, Python, Java, database, both SQL or relational and non-relational databases like NoSQL. Yeah, so all that is a trend that is growing, focusing on serverless and microservice architecture. You realize that backend development is becoming a huge trend. There is AI and machine learning engineers. So we are seeing that a lot. Some of you have already given yourselves those titles as AI engineer, AI or machine learning engineer. Yeah, and that's still good. That's still okay. So skills here you need, of course, is things like R programming, Python, TensorFlow, GPTs, APIs for GPTs, for you to be able to do integrations, AI-based UX design, among others. And the trend we are seeing here is AI-driven personalization, automated web design. That we're seeing that today, at a click of a button, you can design a whole website without having to understand anything around development. Web3 and blockchain developer, we talked about decentralized applications in blockchains, and so you need developers in Web3. They are becoming also common. They need to have an understanding of languages like Solidity, understanding of Ethereum, um, smart contracts, which is what you create and deploy on web applications, but also Web3 JavaScript, which is now from the front end to enable access of blockchains through a web browser. Okay, so there is a rise of decentralized finance and NFT platforms that we're seeing today. So the rise of decentralized finance, because we also want to trade globally, but also because we want to be able to secure our resources or our funds. Cybersecurity specialists are becoming common, especially in the angle of web applications. So protect web applications from cyber threats, but also be able, you need skills like ethical hacking, encryption, penetration testing, and security frameworks that you can use. Here, the trend we are seeing is zero trust architecture, yeah, where we are saying even the people within the organization, we cannot trust them. So we really have to bulletproof our applications as much as possible. And helping that us there is actually the AI-driven security. All right, I think we are making good progress. Then the other one is deploying and maintaining cloud and DevOps engineer who are responsible of deploying and maintaining scalable applications using cloud. And here you need the understanding of continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines. So just knowing different orchestration platforms that you can use like Kubernetes, Docker, among others, knowing the service providers like AWS, Azure, GCP Cloud, Google Cloud Platform, OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, among others. Knowing those would help you a lot. But also, of course, you need to understand Git operations to help you do all this. There's also, we're seeing now increased adoption of cloud and DevOps engineers because of now the serverless and cloud and multi-cloud architectures. Multi-cloud is whereby within one single organization, you deploy application that is running on two different cloud service providers like Amazon and Google. So you can say, my data is stored by Google, my processing is done by Amazon. Yeah? So that's a multi-cloud architecture. So it's enabling us to really be in need of cloud engineers today. They are really needed in the market. DevOps engineers are really needed in the market, and that is a good thing. There is also augmented reality and virtual reality. And here, augmented reality is whereby, and virtual reality is just creating immersive AI and VR experience for e-commerce, education, and gaming as well. So you need skills in Unity, Unreal Engine, WebXR, AI integration, among others. So the rise of metaverse and other platforms, augmented reality powered shopping, what we are seeing today as a trend in this area. The other one, maybe second last, is the progressive web applications developers. Yeah, developers who can help in building web applications with offline functionalities and mobile first design. Yeah, so here you need service workers, WebAssembly, React as a framework, API integration. Those are skills that you need to have. And the trend here we are seeing is e-commerce, um, um, e-commerce and software as a service businesses shifting to progressive web applications. That's where we are headed. Lastly is, of course, the headless CMS and API developers. API developers, I think I've seen, for example, Microsoft Africa Development Center that is here in Kenya, Westlands. I've seen them really looking for API developers. So if you are one of them, then you may need to knock doors. You might be someone who is really needed if you've mastered your skills very well. Yeah. So yeah, so the trend here, so we're seeing growth in multi-platform content delivery as an area of, of growth. So that's about careers and maybe emerging technologies that we are seeing as far as this area is concerned. I'll drop this recording to you. Let me know if you have any questions in regards to this, any questions or challenges that you'd want us to address. Let me know if you have them, and then we'll be able to address them.